Respectfully, may I ask all of you to be upstanding to observe a minute silence in honor of one of our own, Mr. Goodwill Ajman, President, Powerlifting Federation, who passed on just this Monday. May his gentle soul rest in perfect peace. Thank you. Please be seated. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected, as you all know, all sporting activities around the world. Globally, all national and international sports governing bodies have either suspended, cancelled, or restricted international competitions and games. And for the first time in the history of the Olympic Games, it's been postponed this time around, not as a result of war, but as a result of this pandemic. So strange. Under the circumstance, the government of Ghana had no option than to take a painful decision to suspend all sporting activities. This situation has brought untold hardships to sportsmen and women, team owners, club owners, sports specializing firms, and sports retail businessmen and women. Above all, the pandemic has caused immeasurable damage to the preparation of Ghanaian athletes who were preparing the various qualifiers for the Olympic Games with untold economic hardships. As a way to mitigate their plight, a collaboration between the Youth Employment Agency, YE, the National Sports Authority, NAC, the Ghana Olympic Committee, the National Paralympic Committee, the Ghana Football Association, and the Ministry of Youth and Sports for the institution of a stimulus package known as Youth in Elite Sports for Ghana, and it will be launched pretty soon. The program is to provide the needed mitigation stimulus to abate the economic impact on their preparations. Ladies and gentlemen, notwithstanding the negative effect of COVID on the global sporting programs, I am happy to announce that Ghana's preparation to host and organize the 2023 African Games is on course. So far, there hasn't been any indication of the postponement of the Games. Nonetheless, the 2023 African Games project team, led by my hard-working Deputy Minister, Perioku Jato, are feverishly preparing for the events come 2023. As you are aware, sports continue to contribute to a wide range of social benefits, such as improvement in health, crime reduction, and the promotion of social and national integration. Sports also help individuals in tension management and the inculcation of desirable values such as honesty, perseverance, courage, and respect for law and order. In addition, the core values inherent in sports are compatible with the principles necessary for development and for the maintenance of peace, such as fair play, cooperation, respect for opponents, teamwork, and acceptance of rules. The life skills earned through sports help empower individuals and enhance psychological well-being, such as self-esteem. In order to avail ourselves of the enormous benefits in sports, His Excellency the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, on 31st May 2020, per his update number 10 of Phase 1 on easing restrictions, announced that individual and contact sports can go ahead with the appropriate social distancing and hygiene protocols. To begin with, what do we mean by individual non-contact sports? By definition, non-contact sports are those where participants should have no possible means of touching. In view of the nature of the COVID-19 pandemic, team sports generally do not qualify for exemption because of non-adherence to physical distancing. Accordingly, and in line with the presidential directive, restrictions on the following individual and non-contact Olympic sport activities are lifted with immediate effect. Athletics, generally, badminton, baseball and softball, chess, cricket, cycling, golf, gym, individual non-contact para sports, Fit clubs, of course, in attendance should be 100, not exceeding 100. So pay any attendance for activity club don't exceed the number 100. Polo, powerlifting, Scrabble, shooting, snooker, swimming, table tennis, tennis, water sports, weightlifting. No team events like relays in athletics and doubles in badminton, table tennis and tennis are permitted. So emphasis. No team events like relays in athletics and doubles in badminton, table tennis and tennis are permitted. Only trainings are allowed in this category, only trainings, so it's only training programs. No competitions and no events. So we don't expect supporters to be around. No caddies, that is bike carriers. For golfers, normally they have these caddies or bike carriers. Please, if you want to do it yourself on your own. Don't involve any other contact person. So there will be no caddies or bike carriers in the case of golf. Ladies and gentlemen, the use of restrictions and the guidelines are all measures to allow athletes to develop the necessary match fitness. They need to position themselves in readiness for competitions at the earliest opportunity when it is safe to do so. There is still restriction to mass gathering. Therefore, there will be no events or competitions until further notice. The restrictions on all other sporting disciplines are still in force. Specifically, the following sports disciplines are under restrictions. Arm wrestling. I've seen their president here. So it's still in force. So. Then basketball, beach soccer, beach volleyball, boxing. There's always a contact in boxing. Though it's an individual sport, there's always that contact in boxing. Fencing, football. Their president is here. The FA president is here. Football is affected. Judo, karate-do, kickboxing, netball, rugby, squash, taekwondo, volleyball, wrestling, that's traditional wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, measures taken so far, together with the National Sports Authority, has been, and of course the Ministry of Local Government, has been a nationwide fumigation in all the stadia and the sporting facilities across the country. Offices, spectator sitting area, VIP lounge, among other areas have been fumigated. Additionally, the general COVID protocol will be applied to our 10 youth leadership training skill centers across the country. So all the protocols we observe there, and per the Minister of Education, what he said yesterday, all those protocols also apply to these skills training centers because we consider them as educational centers. We have final year students who have to come and write their exams. So all these centers have to observe the necessary protocols. Sorry. Enforcement. The National Sports Authority, in collaboration with the Ghana Health Service officials, shall take enforcement responsibilities. This means regulatory bodies for the different sectors, where necessary, will be assisted by security agencies to ensure that these decisions are enforced. There will be monitoring and evaluation by the NSC. Contingency arrangements. Should there be an unexpected outburst and infections within sports facility or unit, government has put health workers and security agencies in place, including the police, service, and armed forces on standby to coordinate a rapid response of human and logistical resources. If necessary, we have to cordon the place, we will do the cordoning. If we have to impose a curfew, we will do it. If we have to trace, test, and treat affected persons, we will do it accordingly. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the general public for their understanding, patience, and support in navigating through this turbulent period. We believe that God on our side, this too shall pass hopefully. Ghana sports shall return to normalcy. Thank you and God bless you.
COVID-19 is still living with us. Wear your nose mask as it protects you and helps prevent spread.
Yes, a few things that we had to all pay attention to when it comes to COVID-19 and non-contact sports. He actually listed the sports that can go ahead and do all that they're expected to do in terms of training, and at the moment all these non-contact sports cannot organize competitions, and he was very, very emphatic on that. He also spoke about the contact sports and that they cannot be given an opportunity to start now until all restrictions are lifted. We're looking forward to the 31st of July. However, I'm sure the sports journalists in the room, including our colleague Muftar Nabila, will be asking a few questions. We'll be getting back to that. But Eko Asma is here with me in the studio. Very quickly, before we get to the question session, let me just ask you a call on that one. It was rather brief.
Yes.
We had a bit of nose mask drama, but all of that was sorted out there by the sports minister anyway. Yeah, but it was rather brief, and he went straight to the point. He didn't even talk about a lot about whether football is coming back or anything clearly because of that.
Well, I like that. It was very short, straight to the point. We already know football is not coming back till at least after 31st July. Non-contact sports. Still, the only thing that was new to me was the emphasis on training only.
Yes, no training only and no competition.
Because we hadn't heard that before today.
Yeah.
And what I really liked about the measures being put in place is the enforcement part. Because if you leave it to the people, all over the world, if you leave it to the people, they wouldn't obey it. The rule of law will be an issue. So I was really pleased about the enforcement measures taking place and reinforcement by the security agencies and all that. I think that would be the challenge.
Right.
It would definitely be tested.
We'll talk about that. Let's head back into the press conference grounds of the Ministry of Information. Minister of Information, Kojo Nkrumah, is receiving questions now from all those who want to put out there. So let's hear what the sports journalists have got to ask now.
Please introduce yourself and let's hear your question.
I am Muftar Nabila Abdullahi, Joy FM and JoyNews. I'd like to find out from the minister, about 2 weeks ago, his deputy was on JoyNews and he mentioned that sports was not factored in the stimulus package set aside for SMEs. Why was sports not factored?
We just have to be a bit clear. Are you talking about the 600 million Ghana cedis?
1 billion
Yes,
Ghana cedis.
that's the 600 plus the 400.
Yes.
Okay, so the stimulus package for micro, medium, small scale enterprises.
Yes.
The deputy minister says sports was not factored into it.
Factored, yes.
So, and your question is?
Why was sports not factored in setting up that figure aside?
Okay.
Is it that the ministry did not make a proposal on behalf of sports?
Okay.
And secondly, on Sunday when the president spoke, he mentioned that contact sport was not being part of the disciplines they are easing restrictions on. I'd like to find out, is it that government is unconvinced about the GFA, since the GFA president is here, the GFA's ability to put in measures that would ensure that players who are training observe the social distancing? Because in other jurisdictions, they will start with social distancing training and they proceed with the contact training. Is government unconvinced about the GFA's ability?
About GFA or about contact sports generally?
I've just, since the GFA is president, I just narrowed it to football.
Okay.
Because I do know one football club like Interlife, they said they wanted to start training with 5 players each, and then when they ease restriction, then they're allowed to have contact training and all that.
Okay.
So why is it that government did not allow them to do so? Is it they're unconvinced about the GFA's ability to do that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Minister, you may also want to broaden that to deal with the bigger picture of contact sports generally. Why are we not also dealing with contact sports? And just to provide a bit of information even before the answer comes in, there have been different layers of our stimulus exercises. There's the 600 from the coronavirus alleviation package fund plus 400 from the institutions that are administering, making 1 billion. There's another 3 billion from the banks that you recall the president mentioned, other bigger businesses. This one is for micro, small, medium scale enterprises. Then there's a bigger one. Then there's a third layer. The minister responsible for finance has been asked to put together the recovery and resilience plan. There are different layers. But your question is, why are they not included in the one for the micro, medium, small scale enterprises? Okay, sir.
Benjamin Iketia.
Why are you hiding behind the spectacles and the mask? Ben, how are you?
Very good, sir.
Let's hear you, sir.
First question goes to the Minister and the FA President. We've known for a while that they've been engaging on possibly getting a stimulus package also for the league in the wake of what has happened. How far along are those discussions, first of all, and how much exactly is being sought, and what's the ministry's position with regards to compliance on the money that will probably be handed out, if it will? And then to the NSA boss and also to the minister again. The Auditor General's report came out a while ago on the poor state of maintenance at our facilities, the stadia. He spoke about fumigation at those facilities. We want to know what sort of interaction has been done with the managers of those facilities, and what would the nature of this fumigation exercise be, if there's probably a budget behind it, if we could know that as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Yes, sir.
My name is Daniel Harik, it's Media Journal TV3. I would want to ask the Minister, when you talk about contact sport, I know football is a contact sport, but I believe that...
Can you speak up, please?
When it comes to contact sports, I believe that football is a contact sport. But when it comes to tennis, there are two people playing. Are they going to get tested? Are you going to test those tennis players? Especially when they play the ball, there will be a ball boy who will pick up the ball back to the tennis players. Are they all going to get tested before they start their training?
As in the players and the ball boys?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Minister, you may even want to extend that to, let's say, golfers and their caddies and other things. So, Minister, please join me with the first set of answers for this first three. And then colleagues will come for a second batch.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for information. On the issue of the stimulus package, I've had several meetings with the federation heads over this very important issue that will cushion all the federations. President of the Republic convened a meeting of all his ministers to look at the impact on each sector. As a Minister for Sports, Chief on Sports, I presented the impact on my sector. So in addressing this issue, you need to look at sector-specific needs and requirements, which is critical. Sector-specific needs and requirements. I've had a discussion with the FA president. For example, if you ask this of our class to go for even a soft loan of 1%, 2%, can they pay back the loans? It's an issue, we are resolving it. So we look at the larger picture. The major concern now is about our athletes in general, including footballers, our athletes in general. How do you support them? Those in the Premiership, First Division, how do you support them? And that is why I made mention of the fact that there is an ongoing project between the YEA over the years has been supporting young people, engaging young people, giving them some allowances. So that is a package very soon we're going to roll out to support our athletes in general, so that they'll be cushioned, because they are the hardest hit. Our athletes, footballers, runners, and all of them. So they are the hardest hit. So how do we find some support for them so that they can survive and, of course, enjoy the games that they are involved in? So that is the challenge. Look at your sector-specific requirements and address it. That's exactly what we are doing. And very soon, that package will come on board. Then the FA, let me be honest with you, they have the capacity to overcome this COVID challenge. They have the capacity, and we have every confidence in the capacity of this FA president. We have had several engagements on the way forward of our football, the way forward, several engagements. I charged or directed the NSA boss to look at even playing it on an empty stadium across the country. The figure he quoted was a huge challenge, because it's not only about going to play, putting in place and observing all these precautionary measures. How do you get the players maybe at a hotel? Even sometimes it's risky putting them at the hotel. So how do you get them on board? And how do you also disinfect the stadium across the country? Not only that, testing is key. You need to test each player. And in our environment, is it possible for us to play football without our supporters? Major challenge. So these are the issues we are considering. The figure that came out from the NAC was about 60,000 per a match. Ghana per match. And this is huge. For me, it's not only about the money, it's about the lives of our athletes, of our footballers. how do you ensure that they are safe at all these league centers? So it's an issue, we are still resolving it. But I can assure you that going forward, and this is phase one of ease of restrictions. It's phase one of ease of restrictions. So as we monitor the situation, observe the situation, phase two maybe we are going to look at training of footballers. You can look at it, how they can train and how they can put in measures to protect their lives. So this thing can also come as we move on. The issue of the Director General's report, I think they did a study over a period between 2012 or so up to 2016, 2018. So there's a period they did. But I cannot assure you, since I became a Minister of Youth and Sports, maintenance has been one of the issues I don't take for granted at all. Maintenance. NSA was go with me. When before we came in, Accra Sports Stadium was dead. There was no life. Now it's back to life, Accra Sports Stadium. Routinely, I'm always there to ensure that maintenance is kept. And also to ensure that all other centers are kept clean. When we go to Kumasi Sports Stadium, it's closed down for renovation to maintain the place. You see, the issue is that maintenance is not routine, it's not regular. You have to incur more costs in getting the place back to life. That is the challenge. That is why we are spending so much on all these centers. But I can tell you that when we are done with this renovation works, every center is going to have maintenance manual that will be followed religiously. Maintenance manual will direct you on what to do. What you should be doing monthly, quarterly, all these things you directed by the maintenance manual. So every center, we are going to demand maintenance manual so that we shall be observing and of course making sure that strictly we go according to the manual that dictates to us. Yes, tennis, yes. You see, in all these things, it's about adhering to strict hygienic conditions. If you wash your hands thoroughly before the event takes place, obviously you're protecting yourself. If you sanitize your hand before you even touch the balls, obviously you're protecting yourself. So before the event of tennis, you make sure that before you even touch the ball, you wash your hands thoroughly and sanitize, so it doesn't, of course, infect the ball also get back to you. So that is it. We need to observe all the protocols. In all these individual non-contact sports, we need to observe all the protocols. So as we go along, Director General, each federation will sit down with Director General and NSA to have specific protocols for you. If it's about tennis, we're going to develop specific protocols for you to observe. If it's about taekwondo, whatever it is, we are going to observe specific protocols for you. So that is going to happen. The NSA is going to ensure that you have your specific protocols that you observe, that you respect. If that is done, you can prevent and avoid COVID-19. Thank you.
I think that's the second part of the question is you want to make it real. Yes, sir, please come back.
Right, you're still here with us on JoyNews, and we're at the moment going through what the Sports Minister, Isaac Isiama, is saying about the questions that were put to him. A number of questions, Muftal, my colleague, puts a question to him about what government was going to do, or why government did not put in part of the plan, the stimulus package, why sports clubs or football clubs were not put right in there. It was a big question. Now, the Sports Minister answers by saying that there's a plan for athletes via the YEA, and it's one that we'll have to discuss later on the show. There's a plan for athletes, but not a plan for the clubs. How, is that really going to? There was a question about testing. He has not really touched on testing, because with the non-contact sports, we're talking the table tennis, the tennis, before they go for their training, the question was, will there be mandatory testing? He has not touched on that, but he says that all the protocols must be followed. Washing hands and all of that is great, but there was a critical question about testing, which has not been answered as well. Then why did government, decide not to allow the football and all the contact sports actually restart? And he says it's because government agreed that structurally the clubs were not there, financially they were not capable. There's a second batch of questions, and we'll go back into the hall for the questions with the Minister of Information, Kojo Ponkroma, and we'll come back with some more analysis.
Management on a so that you quality ones now. And players and suffer in terms of time with the on Oko Achimota overhead. When Sabin Kumso, Park with the hall. Last 3 days, we call Nina is on Tokosi. Why? Because MP now what they say, what we are still there. Now we should measurement in that honorable. Obviously, marking in our banner, you know, a very 7 aside. Now you be such a banner, Sana, you be in your stadium, you see a kind of Ghana Premier League also. Because I still start to be corrected, but across Sports Stadium, they have an income almost 6-7 teams, and they see a kind of Tiaban is at a mark, pitching here then.
Okay.
And then last one, Akosiapia, James Akosiapia Sikano. I spoke to my senior man, Professor Nakabate, on my show, who is a special assistant to Honorable, and he said, Akosiapia Sikano Kran, Onya Wotre, because in Shishia, you had the man, when to me, into a mobile big, and yet this kind of man. So my question is, Honorable is a commercial. Now we go to your interview, I'm looking for you, and I'm go to.
Okay.
Into Honorable Casa, you see, Misa say, Akosiapia Sikano. So when we say young farmer, and I young mobile young farmer, because the winners were mobile, young farmer, it's indirect, because you deserve to take it. Or mobile team, you one, so that we can take it.
Okay, let us say, colleagues, Mr. Mwakaimo said, Nenkomo AD, easing of restrictions in the area of sports, and it's any affected sports. But Namin Pese Michawano, Inti Odiano, Maji. Your best minister, they are bit me a year and another year, but Mr. say, and then come on, you per se focus. And the minister Beba meet the press generally, you know, all other sports issues a bit more. This week, now you focus on easing of restrictions, you know, in soon so sports. But what I say, but Medbema minister, Kakra will be to me, I can't count no Pacho Kakra. Yes, sir.
My name is
Atinka.
Yes, Atinka.
Yeah, go ahead.
I work at Atinka TV. I want to find out probably what government's plan for the resumption of Ghana Premier League, the women's football, and other games.
Are there plans for the resumption of the Premier League and women's football?
Yeah, for government.
Very well. Are there plans on the resumption of the league and women's football? Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Else we'll bring down the gavel here, and then once Minister is done, we'll be done. Any other questions? Minister, just a moment. I think there's just one more question.
Yeah, good morning, Honorable. My name is Bismarck, a broker journalist. Honorable, respectfully, I would like to ask if...
what has changed? Last time when you introduced yourself, you said Radio Gold.
Honorable, so
today you say broadcast journalist.
So let's continue. Respectfully,
what has changed?
I'm saying, yes, looking at our weekend's activities in sports, like keep fit, exercising, and other things. I would like to know, what about those people? Are they also going to be allowed to keep on doing their exercising?
Keep fit clubs,
yes, keep
and
fit
exercises.
Clubs, and then, yes.
I think it was in the presentation. Yes.
Yeah. So the details of it. Thank you.
Okay, all right, I hear you. Minister.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Minister. Yes, keep fit clubs, yes, I mentioned that they cannot operate, but per attendance should not exceed 100. Per attendance, also observe all the necessary social distance protocols, so it's critical. But per attendance should not exceed 100 for keep fit clubs. And I also said that the gym, too, you can operate it, but it should not be more than 25% of the capacity. So in case you were operating maybe 100 per attendance, now do 25 per attendance. I hope that is clear. Yes, Mr. Minister, the challenge I faced, or we face as a country in sport development, is about the over-concentration on football. Even on football, blasters. So I can understand the frustration we're people going through. Definitely have a meeting, if you're not careful, the following one is about blasters, Kosiapia, and all other issues are, of course, lost. So I'm happy you made that point. Let us emphasize on this very important national assignment we are all engaging. But let me assure you that Coach Kosiapia has done a lot for Mother Ghana. I have huge respect for that gentleman. We have nothing against him. We, through the FA, contacted him, gave him an appointment. We all fully supported him in all the assignments he engaged in. As a minister, I had a direct instruction from the president, give him full support, which I did. All the support I did. So we provided all the support to him. We gave a contract for 2 years. For the 2 years, we don't owe him a peso. We paid everything. There was a contract extension. If that one, we paid about 3 months or so. Not about 3 months. So it's not that we have been so disrespectful to the gentleman, and we have been uncared. Not at all. No. We've shown care, concern to the gentleman. We've given that respect as a Ghanaian. That respect. When I became minister, Abraham Grant, we owed him at that time. Gradually, we resolved it and paid him off. So I can assure the nation that gradually we shall pay his all his entitlements. I can assure you. We love him as a Ghanaian. He's one of our own. We can never do anything against Coach Kosiapia. He's done a lot for Mother Ghana. We respect him. We call him Maile. We respect that gentleman. He's a gentleman, so we all respect him. Then the AstroTurf issue, yes. As far as I was made a minister, there's this gentleman who has been so instrumental in Ghana sports. He doesn't want to be called Professor Usansa, but I call him Professor Usansa. He is here. He is my technical advisor. Minister, maybe you can take the opportunity to also introduce my key lieutenants here. Yes. Professor Peter Chimasi, Dr. General NSA is here. And then Sly Tete, our aspiring MP, is also here. He is the CEO, National Youth Authority. And then Professor Abrako, also in our communication. And then Ahmed Osman is also part of the communication team. So, then the board chairman is, oh, I see. Kojo Badman, maybe you came in late. Kojo Badman is here. Board chair NAC, also trying to stage a comeback to Parliament. A returnee, we call them returnees. He wants to return to Parliament. So then he gave him that technical advice that because of the climate we find ourselves and everything, even if we want to do AstroTurf, it should have some modifications, some specification so that it can suit our circumstance. So I'm in touch with all those who are developing some of these facilities. Zongo Development Ministry, my brother Mustafa, I'm in touch with him, and other institutions that are engaged in that, so I can get the type that will suit our circumstance. But first, it's good for sports development. It's good for us. Let us get all these facilities. And so far, I can assure you that this regime is going to be counted as the best in terms of sports infrastructure. I'm grateful to the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, for his vision for sports development. It's all about sports infrastructure. If you don't have it, yes. How can you take athletes out there and they're not exposed to the facilities? And they go and they mess up. They can contribute a lot. So when you get them exposed to the right equipment, right facilities, they go out there and they excel. So that's exactly what we are doing. So what we have been across the country, through the NYA across the country, we are doing natural grass to suit our climatic conditions here. And every facility is a FIFA or whatever standard that we are doing. If it's about athletics, it's IAA standard. All the international standards. So we are providing FIFA standard pitch 10 across the country. And then it's like 30 years or so, that the president made a commitment that after the 10, the additional 6 regions, each will also have such a facility there. So very soon, the president will cut a sword to begin for those 6 regions. So we are committed to providing decent, quality sporting infrastructure across the country, everywhere. Can you imagine those of Upper West? Through their life, they have never seen any quality pitch. Can you believe that Upper West? The whole region, Upper East. No, we have been so unfair to the people in this region. So we are remedying the situation. We are making sure that we right the wrong. That's exactly what we are doing. So per our specification, we do FIFA standard quality pitches. Others may have them for training purpose. So it's not bad that maybe in a small community, we have maybe 7 aside or 8 aside for sporting activity. For training, it's important. But for national and international assignments, it's not important. That's why we must complement it nationally by getting state-of-the-art equipment in all the regional centers. So that if in Upper West, for example, maybe around Kabul's constituency, for example, that is not too close to the capital, can also have a simple facility. They can train without the capital. They are exposed to the best facility. State-of-the-art facility should be at the center so that they can all get that exposure that you want. So please, all the interventions being made by individuals are important. You must comment all of them. But as a state, as a country, we must equally have state-of-the-art equipment across the country. So if somebody is building AstroTurf in his community, Kudos. The ministry is grateful to you for your effort in contributing to sports development. We are grateful to you. Others will do it. The legislature will also do it as a nation. So we need to get this on board. That whatever it is doing is good for Mother Ghana. Let us embrace all of them. Thank you.
I think this is where we'll draw down the curtain on today's briefing. Ms. Nketia, I thought I kept asking if there were questions, but you didn't. So guys, I will give you a very final round because I kept asking. So I'll give you a very final round. 1, 2, 3. Are there any others? So that we don't have to come back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll take them in batches of 2s and then 1. So let's take the first one. I think they've moved the microphone. Let's just let them set it up.
Okay, Muftar Nabila Abdullahi, Joy Sports and Joy FM, back again. In August 2019, the accounts of the Ministry of Youth and Sport were garnished. I remember vividly that when the Confederation of African Football sent the then nomination committee about $600,000, the ministry asked for half of that, which was about $300,000. And
is this to do with the easing of restrictions?
Yes, definitely. Okay. So now we want to understand how the garnishing of the accounts of the ministry would impact them supporting federations financially. And then the second question will have to do with some athletes have already qualified for the Olympic Games. What would government be doing to support those people? Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nketia.
Also, a quick follow-up to my colleague Muftar's question on what he was speaking about. What's the plan, for example, the Black Bombers who were in Senegal to qualify for the Olympics? You mentioned that a plight alleviation plan had been put in place. Will they benefit from this plight alleviation plan? And can you give us an idea of the operational picture and what it's looking like? And then you also...
Hold on, sir. Hold on, sir. Minister needs a clarification. The Black Bombers who qualified for the Olympic...
Some qualified, they participated, some qualified among the crew, but they had not received their bonuses and per diems from that situation. I'm asking that of those that have qualified, what will happen to them with regards to the Olympics being postponed? And for those that didn't qualify, are there any financial packages that they're also entitled to?
Very well.
And then finally, with regards to football, just a second. What's the picture looking like based on the discussions that have been held on the health projections with the GFA with regards to a timeline on when football can actually return and the restrictions that will be imposed?
So, Minister, are there timelines for the potential easing when it comes to soccer? Yes, sir.
My name is Kedi Asante from Happy FM. I would like to find out from the Minister how much has been the cost of COVID-19 on sports?
In terms of money,
in terms of money,
or general impact?
In terms of money.
Okay, right. Are you talking about the revenues to the teams or to NSA or to can you help us a bit?
I'm talking about sports in general, not about the club or team or sports in general.
Okay, all right. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Israel Asante. I work with Kingdom FM in Accra here. My question has to do with, before the question, I have an observation. I come all the way from the Eastern region, Koforidua, and we are talking of non-contact sports. But let's set an example, like the health walk and the jogging that we have been doing. We said we should exercise ourselves so that at least you'll be able to move on and then our immune system will be boosted. But I've realized that in my region, there are several groups there, several Keep Fit clubs. They say they are doing sports. So they just move together, jog together, and they've been holding themselves, doing several exercises in respect to exercising themselves to avoid any potential COVID-19. We are talking of all these being something that really doing and helping us to avoid this COVID-19? What are the enforcement or what can be done to make sure that these practices will be kept? Then my last question goes to the Ghana Football Association.
So, Minister, I think the question is about enforcement. Generally. How are we going to enforce all these protocols?
My second question goes to the Ghana Football Association. I don't know how the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, met genius, and now we are gradually moving towards resumption of school. But I'm here to see a roadmap. I don't know how it will be done, but I'm here to see a roadmap from the Ghana Football Association, which gives us hope that football will be brought back. If the minister comes to assure us that football will be brought back, we should hear it from the Ghana Football Association president, because we as stakeholders, we have to know whether there has been an engagement with the ministry.
So what is your question?
My question is the Ghana Football Association going to give us hope, or has there been a roadmap in making sure football will resume or continue in this country? Because the clubs, please, the clubs, they are in big trouble. The clubs don't have money.
So can the Ghana Football Association give us hope that football will resume?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the question.
Because there is, Honorable, there is nothing like football is coming. We don't feel anything like football is coming. So I want to know if Mr. Kurt Edwin Simon Okreku has a roadmap there. Has there been a discussion to make sure football will resume?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think the minister has already mentioned. You may please take your seat. I think the minister has already mentioned that there are engagements between government and the various associations and federations, and that we are going through a phased easing. Currently, what is being eased is individual non-contact sports, and that as we move along and in further eases, we'll have an opportunity to deal with some of the other sports. And I think that that settles the matter for us quite clearly. So, Minister, I won't bother you with that one. Mr. President, I won't bother you with that one. Let's take the rest of the responses.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Yes, somebody quoting 2019 that our accounts Ghana shared. Yes, yeah, it's true. We inherited a debt situation that is so much affecting the ministry. This specific case, for example, the record tells us that somewhere 2012 to 2014 or so, somebody supplied our stadium, Accra Kumasi, gym equipment, and his money has been locked up. So the person took the case to court. Of course, the court gave judgment in the person's favor. So our account had to be Ghana shade. I think amount of about almost 3 million Ghana cedis or so was involved in that litigation. So that's the truth. So the gentleman through the court process had to get his money. And that's due process, a rule of law. There's nothing the minister can do. He went to court and the court agreed that he had a good case. Yes, black bombers. My information from my chief accountant is that, yes, before they embarked on that assignment, national assignment, they requested the ministry to support them. Ministry bought tickets for them to go for that tournament. So we supported them somehow, but I don't think it's full support. They're asking for per diem and other bonuses. I think they can make a good case to the ministry. I mean, they are our national athletes, why not? If there's the need for us to support them, give them some bonus or pay them, we'll do that. So we're always having that engagement. Always, I mean, when I came, some areas starting from 2012, 2013, 2015, we are still paying them. So as for the ministry, it's an institution. It doesn't end when I visit the place. No, it continues. So if you have a case, they always put up a good case, ministry will listen to you, and then we, of course, honor it. Then the information, our capable information minister has answered the issue of the timeline. So as he said, there's a roadmap we are following. Let's go accordingly. As you are aware, we are not in normal times. We must all understand it. It's not that the FA president just got up and said football should not be played. Not at all. It's not about the minister. We all know the situation we find ourselves. So let us understand and appreciate the global situation we all find ourselves. It's not only in Ghana, it's affecting all of us. Then the cost of COVID or the impact of it on sports. He is asking of the cost. So that means in monetary terms, the cost of it at the appropriate time, the ministry will provide answer because we are not yet done with the COVID situation. As we speak, we are still spending incurring expenditure on the COVID situation. So at the most appropriate time, the ministry will come out with the full cost of the impact on our ministry, of COVID on our ministry, because we are still managing the situation. Then the enforcement is critical. As I did indicate earlier on, health, work, keep fit, we are giving a limitation. That limitation, you have to observe all the precautionary measures, all the protocols. So not that because it's 100, then you just go, all of you, without wearing nose mask, without washing your hands, without sanitizing yourself, and just moving on. You have to then observe all these protocols, because it's about your life. Our lives matter a lot. Protect your own life. That's about you. So please, all that we are saying is to secure your life. Make sure that you are alive. Ghana needs you alive. So please, what we are saying is about our own collective good. Let us protect ourselves. It's critical. I think I'm done with some left. No, Minister, thank you, I'm done. Then I think the new minister, maybe you would want to say something about that. Oh, yeah, okay.
Well, I think somebody had asked a question.
He is the president of the GOC.
Okay. Honorable Minister, I think somebody had asked the question about the support the ministry is giving to athletes who have qualified for the Olympics or who are yet to qualify for the Olympics. I must say that in the last 2-3 weeks, 2 months, the minister, myself, and a few others, including the NSA director and the football, we've been involving a lot of discussions on what to do for especially our national team athletes in these very trying times. And I must say that I'm very happy with the initiatives that the minister and then his deputy has taken. We're far advanced in trying to secure funding from the Youth Employment Agency, from the Ministry of Finance, so that at least we can give some support to our national athletes, especially those who have qualified for the Olympics and those who are yet to go through their qualifiers. So I think that I appreciate what the ministry is doing for our athletes for now. Thank you very much.
Mr. Minister, thank you. Colleagues, I think we have come to the end of this morning's briefing. We want to thank you for your time and for your patronage and for carrying our message across to the country. As the Minister mentioned, the National Sports Authority will be engaging further with the various disciplines and spelling out the specific guidelines that each sporting discipline would have to comply with. Tomorrow morning, we'll be joined by the Minister for Tourism to deal with the matter of restaurants and other social facilities that are now allowed to have sit-in services and what it means for them. I thank you very much for your patronage.
Okay, so there we go. We've heard from the Sports Minister, Isaac Isiama, on what the important things we really needed to note with regards to easing restrictions and especially on non-contact sports and what the plan for contact sports is. We'll be just going through the few highlights of this press conference. Of course, we'll see if we could get to the ground to talk to my colleague, Muftau Nabela, who is right there. Maybe he grabs an interview with the Ghana Football Association for a quick reaction to all that we've heard. But key in the things that the sports minister did speak about was about that stimulus package. Why sports clubs and of course Ghana Football Association were not part of it, and he did explain that there is a plight alleviation plan at the moment for athletes, and he was very clear on that. Plight alleviation plan for athletes via the YEA. So we're yet to find out what the details of that is, how the government wants to ensure that athletes, players are comfortable. But the worry really here was then what happens to the clubs who have contracts with these players, because they end up paying them. That was one of the key things that came through. Then we also spoke about a plan to ensure that gradually the contact sports can resume, and clearly they are in consultation, the sports ministry with the Ghana Football Association and government having a very, very close look at that, and we will be yet to find out what really comes out of that as well. Then all the questions about how the athletes who are qualified for the Olympic Games, that's the 2020 Olympic Games to take place in 2021, are going to be catered for. The minister has said if you make a good case, always your bonuses and allowances are going to be given to you. Don't know if they are making a good case at the moment or not. Let me bring in Eko Asma, who is here with me in studio, and let's have a little bit of a discussion on, I think, what's the major highlight. And we have to talk about the stimulus package, because that's where it's all is. The government says, I'm concerned about the athletes. There's slight alleviation for the athletes. Yeah. How about the clubs who are contracted to these players? And I must tell you, players are still taking their salaries all across.
Thank you very much. I thought he addressed that point about the loan issue.
Yes.
And then he put question marks about the viability of those clubs to begin with, and opportunity to be able to pay back on the loan. And he didn't seem too hopeful that the clubs would be able to do that. So I think it was along the lines of a loan, if anything. And I've been actually backing the clubs for that loan, and if they would set certain strict parameters and give them probably a year or two to pay. But the onus lies on the clubs to be able to prove that they've been really, especially with the Registrar General, since they are companies, have they been rendering their accounts and all that? It will be difficult for the clubs to be able to justify to government that they are indeed in a position to be able to pay back. So I don't think it's a question of the government not wanting to have included them, but that government is convinced that they haven't satisfied all those questions, that they won't be able to answer financially those questions properly. If really you want to delve into it, probably less than half of the clubs have been able to be rendering proper accounts. The past, even if you take the past 3 years. You're even talking about Ghana Premier League. You're talking about the Ghana Premier League. I'm just talking about just Premier League.
You haven't gone to Division 1?
No, just Premier League. So really, if you really want to analyze it, the clubs, based on the criteria, would not be able to justify it. So, but that's what, even before the COVID, before the commencement of the league, that we're hoping that the clubs will be able to get the government to give them a loan. I was backing them for that for about a season or more. And there's certain guarantees be made, but I wasn't thinking of directly giving the clubs cash. I was thinking about in terms of infrastructure, that the government would provide infrastructure for these clubs, especially those clubs that would not be able to meet the club licensing requirements, so that they will all be up to scratch, and then they would owe the state and pay back at a certain interest. So that was what I was thinking.
So clearly, clubs.
It doesn't seem like they don't have a case. Unless it's based purely on humanitarian grounds, and of course the clubs are, majority of the clubs, here's the problem that they present. Even when they get revenue from player transfers and all that, those revenues don't go into the accounts of the clubs. That's a problem. The clubs are all impoverished, but if you check their heads, they are not impoverished. Their revenues from player transfers and all that comes to them directly, but it doesn't go into the clubs. And so they're always presenting that they are poor. Well, if you're not that stable, you don't have a basic, solid infrastructure, and your endowments are that low. It affects even how you pay players, their welfare is an issue. So it doesn't make a solid case to the government. The only way they can get something right now, per what the minister is saying, will be on humanitarian grounds. And I see it only after the restrictions era.
Eko Asma, let me say thank you very much for joining me on the show.
I appreciate it.
Eko is an experienced sports journalist who joined us to do the analysis. As we brought you the live press conference with the sports minister, had to talk about all the plans in regards to easing restrictions, and spoke about non-contact sports. And in that area, no competitions are allowed to be organized at the moment. It's all about training. You have to stick to all protocols. That means that a lot of testing has to go into it. And as well, you have to make sure you're safe. That's just our bit on the special edition, bringing you what the sports minister had to say about easing restrictions here on Joy News. I'm George Addy Jr. There's more to chase, there's more to follow on myjoyonline.com. You hear the sports tab and there's a lot to read. As well, you can follow us on Twitter at JoySportsGH, and we've got a lot coming up in terms of our shows for the rest of the day. Do stick and stay with Joy Sports. I'm George Addy Jr. Upcoming is the News Desk with our special man, Enes Kojumenu, who's standing by. Till then, be good.